Hello, everybody. Lewis, Norwich City Central. I hope you're all doing well, and welcome back to the NCC show. Hope you're all doing well. It's been a few weeks, but it's good to be back. It's good to be back talking about Norwich City again. Norwich have gone from serendipity to serendipity. It was an absolutely horrendous display against Chelsea. We hope you're all doing well. Of course, there'll be lots of you watching back on the catch-up, so hope you're all doing well. And please let me know your thoughts down below on the discussion myself and Duku are going to have for the next 45 minutes. And if you are joining the live stream, hello guys, please feel free to get your questions in as we have a proper detox after the Norwich Chelsea display. Duku, how are you doing, mate?
Apart from the whole Norwich situation, it's just I'm keeping busy, keeping well. But yeah, just I think the whole Norwich situation kind of does bring it down a little bit, doesn't it?
It does, mate. It does a little bit. And I think we've had many discussions, mate, how this is going to be. That this season really is kind of it really feels like Farke's biggest, and it feels like one of Norwich City's biggest in recent years to try and keep us stable and to try and hopefully bring us into an established Premier League club. But we haven't seen anything so far this season to suggest Norwich City are going to stay up at all, really. We had a couple of decent results, of course, against Burnley and Brighton. But that Chelsea game was a real kick in the teeth. And of course, we're going into that game not expecting to get any points, but the manner of the defeat, a 7-0 loss, which is the biggest joint loss in Norwich's competitive history for the last 100 years or so. Of course, we lost 7-0 to Man City about a decade ago. But just absolutely humiliated at Chelsea. How are you feeling after that, mate? And what are your thoughts on Norwich going forward?
Well, effectively, I think that, for me, the game finished at 3-0, so I left by that point. So I'm still going off a 3-0 loss, trying to make myself feel better. But no, on the whole, look back at the highlights, look back at everything, and it's disgusting. It is genuinely disgusting. We spend 50-60 million in the summer. Yeah, we're happy with the amount of money we've spent, but are we happy how we've spent it? That's coming back to the question. We've bought our two marquee signings of wingers, who we now have a formation that doesn't accommodate wingers, so there's no use for them. Matthias Norman looks like the only player that was signed that looks of any Premier League quality. Kabak looks horrendous, if I'm perfectly honest. Josh Sargent looks absolutely woeful. I just don't see how we go forward from here, Lewis, unless we sack Daniel Farke, if I'm honest. He has to go. There's no question about it. The man's clueless. He's ditched everything he knows in the sense of, his formation, the way how he play, our identity, our philosophy, and it's just gone with something that we're unheard of. We've lost everything about us. We're not this Norwich City that play free-flowing, attacking football and dominate the Championship. We're a Norwich City go in the Premier League, have a laugh, allow everyone to take the piss out of us, and an easy 6 points for everyone during the season. That's what we are. It's disgusting currently.
Yeah, you made a really interesting point right at the start of that discussion, mate, about the spending. And we sat a few weeks ago, or about a couple of months ago now, talking about that transfer window, and we were incredibly impressed by the business. And I've seen quite a lot of chat from Norwich City fans who have perhaps said that business in hindsight wasn't as good. I still stand by that business and think that was one of our best transfer windows. And I still agree with that. And look, Norwich City spent, as you say, 50 to 60 million. We was creative in the transfer window. Could we have done any more? Because for me, off the pitch, we've given ourselves the off the pitch from what Stuart Webber has done. He gave us everything that he could possibly do to keep us in the Premier League. And the idea that we haven't, because obviously a lot of people might say in hindsight about Daniel Farke, well, he hasn't been given the tools. But for me, we've given absolutely everything off the pitch in terms of the players we can potentially sign to stay up.
Yeah, we have. I think there's just one side of the argument. Obviously, the money we spend is on the right players. And I think the argument for that comes in is the way how Daniel Farke uses them. Because the players that we've brought in, I think, are Premier League quality. We saw with Ozan Kabak at Liverpool, definitely Premier League quality. Mm-hmm. We know that Milo Rashica has the flair and the talent to be Premier League quality, same with Zolis. But again, the formation doesn't accommodate them at the minute, and the style of play doesn't accommodate them. And for me, it's not Daniel Farke adapting to the league. He's signing players that other sort of bottom half relegation scrapping teams would sign and use effectively. You know, quick wingers. You look at Newcastle, Alan St. Maximin. You know, quick centre halves. You look at Burnley and James Tarkowski, someone who can play the ball, bit like Ozan Kabak. And you know, we're trying to buy players that can accommodate Premier League relegation scrapping sides, but we'll have a manager who's absolutely clueless in how to deal with the situation. You know, he's a manager that likes to play free-flowing attacking football and dominate a league. You're simply not going to do that in the Premier League. And the fact is he's got no plan B. He can't adapt his game. He can't. And the fact is, I think all Norwich fans were very much, you know, we'll give it a few games. We'll give it 5 games or whatever, or 9 games, or however long it's been now. And, you know, we'll say, look, we'll give him that time. We'll allow him to adapt. There is no sign of adaptation to this division at all from Daniel Farke. And he has to go, Lewis. He has to go. I will be emphasising this a lot. I mean, I've been Farke out since Watford at home, I think. But it's just becoming more clear and more clear to me. I've got people who, you know, who I told that I was Farke out after Watford, and they were saying to me, no, you got to give him time. And, you know, I saw...
That's probably one of those people as well.
Yeah, and I saw him at half-time at Chelsea away, and they've all come up to me and said, yeah, I see why you're saying this now. And it's like, because it's annoying. I don't want to be Farke out because, you know, the guy's brought us so much success, you know, 2 championship titles, you know. He's done. He's one of our best managers in recent history. But the fact is, we can't. You know, the way how the fans have backed the club over the summer, in terms of everyone tipping us to go down. The way how we've all backed up Daniel Farke saying, "Oh no, he'll adapt this time. He's got the tools. He'll do well." We can't be seeing the absolute shite we have been seeing for the past 2 months of this Premier League season.
Yeah. I mean, I think Adam touches on a lot of the points you say there. Absolutely embarrassing to see his god awful performances week in, week out. The manager is clueless and 100% Farke out. Love the guy, but it's time to go. I certainly think it's really hard to argue with that, and sometimes you've got to look at you've got to quite simply look at the statistics and you've got to look at facts. I mean, if you look at the last, let's start with this season, of course, 9 Premier League games in. 2 goals scored, conceded over 20 already, minus 21 goal difference, and just the 2 points. You know, if you extrapolate those numbers, Norwich City will finish the season with 8 points. And I know, okay, we've had Liverpool and Man City. We had a few difficult fixtures to start the season, but we also had Burnley and Watford, who I'd argue on paper are probably the 2 easiest fixtures you're going to get in this league. And I think it's really important for context to look at how Norwich City responded to the Premier League last time around, and particularly that COVID situation where after COVID, we'd lost every single game. We were resigned. And yeah, just looking at Norwich, the last 18 games, scored 3 goals in the Premier League, conceded 47.
2 points out of a possible 57 as well. And
exactly.
What's the way forward though? Because the fact is, I don't think any player in this side's got any confidence. I don't see anyone that's going to step up to the mark at the minute in the club as a whole. I mean, from top to bottom, I don't see anyone in the club that's going to be like, all right, look, let's get this sorted. Get this sorted. Because the fact is, how the club's being run as a business, they're happy with it. Everyone involved within the football club itself, they're happy with it. You know, we've got a sustainable project involved. You know, we've got youth players coming in and whatnot. We're able to sell players for big profit. Great. So as a business, Norwich City are really well. But as fans, we don't support a business. We support a football club. We want to see our team do well on the pitch. And at the minute, you know, do the club actually want to see us do well on the pitch? It really does question that, because they're happy with the business state of the club. And that's why Stuart Webb was brought in, because he's able to do that. Sell players on for big money and bring in players who are of similar quality levels and have potential to be better for smaller fees. But at the minute now, we want to see us sign marquee players who are potentially Premier League proven, who can keep us up. You look at Josh King, went to Watford, scored a hat-trick at the weekend. Look at Christopher Ager at Brentford, linked with him. Look how well he's doing.
So would you not argue then it was the transfer business and the transfer window as a whole which actually wasn't as successful as perhaps we thought initially?
Yeah, I would say it does stink of, like, I can remember that season where we linked with Virgil van Dijk when he was at Celtic and Toby Alderweireld when he was somewhere else, and you're missing 1 or 2 million pounds to sign these marquee players, these players that will keep you up, and instead you're stuck with Leroy Fer and Ricky Van Wolfswinkel. But it does stink of that, Lewis. It really does, because you look at the players we were linked with, like Josh King, like Adrian, players who were heavy. It wasn't just the odd link. It was heavily linked with, and the fact is, Josh King, it was a wages situation. He wouldn't go for his wages. Watford did, and it's paid off for Watford because he's scoring goals for fun there. He scored a hat-trick against his former club at Everton. I mean, he's having a great time. And you look at Christopher Ager. If we would have paid, I think it was 2 million more than what we bid.
I agree with the sentiments, Ducker, but honestly, I think if we had Josh King instead of Josh Sargent, and if we had Christian Ager instead of Ozan Kabak, for instance, I'm not sure we'd be. I honestly don't think these players would necessarily take us to that level. Josh King, I don't think.
No, but I think it's a sense of ambition, though, and it's just. I know this is. You're going to say, well, it's not really fair because we have spent money, but are we showing ambition, Lewis?
I think. I think this is the argument. I think, Ducker, in terms of where Norwich City are at the moment. I think we really have shown ambition this transfer window. I know the big thing is about Emi Buendia, of course, letting him go. And we don't know what happened behind the scenes. Emi Buendia wanted to go before we went into the championship. So, he stayed with us for one more season.
Every season. Wilfried Zaha wants to leave Crystal Palace every season. Okay,
Jack Grealish is gone
in 2018. Okay, Buendia wants to leave,
and he's gone the next window, pretty much.
You know what I mean? I think that there's got to be a firm hand at the club to. To kind of say to Buendia at that point and be like, look, we're going to build this team around you this season. You're going to be our marquee player to keep us up. You're our star player. We need you to stay. It was almost like the fact when Buendia goes, I want to leave. You're like, yeah, all right, let's get the most money for you. And this is the thing. The club as a business do really well at that because we can shed loads of Buendia. He's come off a fantastic season in the Championship. He's had a season in the Premier League where he did play well. Got 8 goal contributions, I think, that season as well. So we're able to make money off him. But when it comes to the footballing side of that, you lose your best player. I said this, but obviously I kind of said it with loose terms, but I'll come back to it now. I said this at the time we sold Buendia. We lost our only chance of staying up. Yes, we signed players in after that, but realistically, every Premier League team has that one marquee player that's going to change them from, maybe a mediocre Premier League side to a European challenging side or a relegation side to surviving side. Buendia is that player for us, and we lost him in the summer purely because we wanted to make a bit of money. Because the fact is, the club at the top of the club want to care more about the business side of things than the football side of things. And I get that may come as a lot of people will disagree with that, but I think a lot of the facts here do support that.
I can see what you're saying there, but my argument would be that as a whole, and if you look at some of the signings we've made, okay, yes, we've lost Buendia, but for me, if Christos Jolis was starting every week, he would easily be able to, from what we've seen in terms of his potential, can easily have those goal and assist contributions that Buendia's got. And look, Buendia hasn't exactly set the world alight at Villa. My argument would be, I honestly believe this squad is good enough, and I think Stuart Webber, unlike 2 years ago, has done unbelievably well. Okay, yes, there's not this marquee £30 million signing, but as a whole and as a transfer window, it's been relatively successful. My argument would be Daniel Farke is just completely and utterly not getting anything out of this squad.
No, I agree with that as much as well. I'm just playing devil's advocate by throwing in a few more things, but I fully like you say, Daniel Farke just isn't up to scratch anymore. And what Andy J said there, again, this is a situation, Lewis. Like, it's not necessarily like a £30 million marquee signing. It's the fact that Josh King is a striker who, on Saturday got his 50th Premier League goal. He's got Premier League experience. He's a very, very good striker. Very similar playing style to Teemu Pukki. Would have been an ideal player to have at the club, and kind of be our talisman.
I've always said, and I don't know if it was you or someone else. Someone said that Josh Sargent was probably the signing that I was most looking forward to. And look, Josh Sargent can come good. I think actually his movement and his all round game has been pretty decent. But for me, I think signing someone like Joshing probably would have been more effective. Adam, the fact that we're not even using some of our big signings, Zolis, who actually looked good, is criminal. Farke's wasting our investment on petty backroom BS. Hard to argue with that. Angie J, thanks for joining the live stream. What do you make of this, Ducker? Changing the subject a little, but Poot rolls down the hill. The club has never moved forward under Delia and Michael Wynne-Jones, or this self-funding club. For me, don't wash any more poor decisions from the top. Transfers were poor, in my opinion. Should have never sold our best player. Pookie looks lost, pretty much like the rest of the team, if you call it that, strangers. What do you make of that? Because essentially what Andy J is essentially saying there is from the top of the club, it's never going to work at this level. And we should have shown more ambition.
It's not. Yeah, no, he is. I think he's bang on. And I think it's the harsh reality that we have to admit. Yeah, we all thought that, Daniel Farke was going to give it a go at the start of the season. Harsh reality is he isn't. He's not good enough. Now, fans still want him in. Oh no, give him time. Give him a bit more time. The good times will come. Realistically, they're not. And it's just that fact, just having a big think, and actually, we don't want to think of the worst, but it's going to come to that. The fact is, there is such a clear margin within football businesses and the financial side of it, from the Championship to the Premier League. You do have to have owners who will pump millions, and I mean millions, into the club. And Delia and Michael Wynne-Jones just simply don't have it. And it's nothing against them as people, but the fact is, if the club does want to move forward and be able to stay up, we have to sign better players. That's how football works.
My argument would be on that, and I do agree with that. I think if you want Norwich City to be in the Premier League in the long term, you're going to need more money. I do agree with that. But I think from this topic of conversation at the moment, in the short term, the amount of money we've spent and the people we have behind the scenes, I would argue that, as I said, this Norwich City team are more than good enough to stay up in the Premier League in the short term. I do agree in the long term, new owners going forward is going to make it far more sustainable and far more likely Norwich stay up in the Premier League. But I think if we bring it back to the short term, mate, I honestly believe that we've done everything behind the scenes to give ourselves the best chance of survival, and it's just on the pitch where it's not clicking.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But I think at the same time, to be competitive on the pitch, you've got to be financially competitive. And you look at the gap between Michael Wynne-Jones, Delia Smith, and to the next owner is quite something. So
what's the gap between the Saudi Arabian?
I think we're something like 20 something million, and they're about 304 billion. So
how are you going to compete?
Exactly, you can't compete, and that's with Newcastle United, who are relegation scrapping as well. So you think, come the transfer window, if we are still in we've still got a bit of fight in us. Newcastle, they'll fly away. They'll bring in players. They've got money to spend. But yeah, no, it is just heartbreaking at the minute. Just because we just don't seem competitive in any market at all in the Premier League.
It's a really fascinating debate, this as well, and this is a debate we're probably going to get into, in other shows as well. But it's, what do you want Norwich City's soul as a football club to be? And it's the real topic of conversation is, what do you want Norwich City to be? And for me, there's always the argument that people say that they prefer the Championship. Quite simply, you prefer winning. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Some of my worst memories have been, stuck in the Championship and having really poor seasons in the Championship.
When we went and we lost 4-1 at QPR, I can remember that was one of the worst away days we've done.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be losing in the Championship. Yeah. You don't want to be losing full stop, but you don't want to be losing in the Championship. And for me, Norwich City, you can say they want to be a top 26 club, but Norwich City need to be a top 17 club, and you've got to look at ways in terms of doing that in a way that's effective. And it's all about how you have that debate about the soul of the football club, because as you say, under Delia and under the current investment model, in the short term, I think we could stay up in the Premier League, but in the long term, it's really difficult to. And it's how do you sell your soul? And the argument of do you sell your souls even can become quite redundant as well, because if you look at Leicester, they've brought in billionaire owners and they've kept their soul, they've kept the community, and Leicester is probably the best run club in England with foreign owners. But then on the other hand, you've got owners like Sunderland and all sorts where it's just not, Birmingham and Sheffield Wednesday where it's just not worked at all. So that's a really fascinating debate about how Norwich City move forward and who do you want at the top of the club.
Well, like you say, in the long term, if we do look at new owners, it's got to work into the hands of Norwich City Football Club in the sense that, yeah, we need the money. So we want owners who can pump money into the club, but also have the best wish. Yeah, they've got the best ideas for the club. They're there for the football, not just a business. They want to see the club do well, similar to Leicester. We'll keep the community spirit. We'll keep that. But I think in the short term, what does need to change for Norwich City to keep its soul, because we are losing our soul right now with Daniel Farke in charge. If we carry on as we are, I don't think many fans will be turning up come the end of the season. I really don't.
Yeah,
I don't really want to go to games anymore. I just feel obliged to because I've got a season ticket. I would already pay £500 a season to get absolutely turned over. But no, for me, Daniel Farke should have been sacked yesterday. How he still kept his job is absolutely beyond me. We need to bring someone in to steady the ship. Basically, I think it's going to be a short-term replacement in terms of maybe a Chris Wilder or a Sam Allardyce. Someone to try to steady. I know. You're not many fans are going to like it, but someone to steady the ship. Someone to maybe give the hairdryer treatment to the dressing room, because I don't think Daniel Farke is capable of that. I think we just need to get rid of Daniel Farke desperately. And I know it's harsh, and I know he's given us so many good memories, but it's just not ideal at the minute.
Yeah, that's a really fascinating debate. But if we look at what happened on the pitch at Chelsea, mate, we were both there, both in different tiers, lower tier, upper tier. The atmosphere, it wasn't the greatest atmosphere, to be fair, from both sets of fans, really. But yeah, we started the game in just a really poor fashion. The press was all over the shop, and Chelsea were just afforded so much space going forward. We can talk about the game really quickly, mate. But yeah, that's how I felt in terms of the press was all over the place. Mason Mount could have a clear shot on goal from just outside the area, making it 1-0. The second goal was one of the worst goals I've seen us concede in a long time. 2 passes and we're completely undone, playing a ridiculously high line. 1 through ball on the halfway line, and Hudson-Odoi makes it 2-0. And the third goal, Giannoulis switches off as well. And it's just, all the goals were just so easy. But if you forget about the goals, the whole match, Norwich offered nothing going forward. Press was all over the shop. Just completely and utterly disjointed, mate.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. Like I said, only sort of 3-0 and then left because it was pointless watching. I just see it becoming very toxic, as what Adam said in the comments right now. Obviously, this 7-0 loss was very, I know a lot of fans that left before half time as well. They all left. Fans who I see travelling home and away with me every week, that leave at half time. That's not, it's poor.
How many did you go back to the pub at London Liverpool Street and come in? How many fans were about there?
I didn't go back there. No, we went with my mate to a Chelsea pub and then went back to mine. So yeah, just had a chill one. And then it was just depressing. But yeah, I just think I'm keep looking at Adam's comment, and he's absolutely bang on. Sunday, if we win, it's jubilation. If we lose, it's going to be the most toxic atmosphere we would have seen at Carrow Road in the past since that 7-1 loss to Colchester.
It's hard to disagree, mate. It's hard to disagree, and we know as well. Delia loved Chris Hughton, and Chris Hughton. If he was sacked months ago, he might have stayed up that season. But he was loved and he was respected. And there was that one game, about 5 or 6 games to go towards the end of the season against West Brom, where we lost 1-0, and there was a toxic atmosphere. A few fans threw paper airplanes at Hughton, and he was sacked the next day. And of course, you never want to see those paper airplanes come back in any kind of stadium, but it could get that level of toxic if we lose to Leeds. A Leeds team, by the way, who are having their own injury crisis with Bamford, Rafinha, and Calvin Phillips potentially all out for the game.
Yeah, exactly. So we're coming up against a Leeds side who aren't really having the greatest start to the season themselves.
Massive, mate. It's just
He's
absolute,
33.
and it's a must win as well. A must.
Oh, it's a must win without a doubt. If we don't win it, we're down anyway. But if we don't win it, we might as well put the R next to our name already. I don't think we've left bottom of the league yet near enough.
Yeah, it's damning.
Relegation zone.
Yeah. And then just more of the same with the Chelsea, mate. The fourth goal, Brandon Williams loses the ball on the halfway. Giannoulis gets subbed off. He always seems to be the scapegoat under Daniel Farke, and reports of him wanting to leave, they were kind of brushed away. But I think there's probably a lot of strength in them, to be fair. But Brandon Williams loses the ball on halfway, a couple of passes. Chilwell, they overload our left-hand side of the pitch. Chilwell then makes it 4. The fifth goal, an unlucky deflection, okay, and then the 6th and 7th, the penalty, and of course Mason Mount makes a hat-trick on 7 with Ben Gibson making a stupid challenge in between the 5th and 6th goal as well. Just an utter calamity, and what we saw on the pitch, Ducker, was a lot of players, I hate using the phrase giving up or not showing effort, but it was utterly disjointed, and you have to say they gave up.
They gave up. I won't hear anything different. They gave up. They gave up after the first goal, and it happens every single time in Norwich City. They give up after the first goal.
How many games is it now? 33, 34 when we've conceded the first goal, we haven't turned it around?
Something like that. It's ridiculous.
That's mental, isn't it? Absolutely mental.
Someone's got to motivate these players, and usually you look to the head coach or manager, but he doesn't seem to be doing a very good job of that, does he? Yes. To answer that one, yes, definitely. He's lost it. Look at the Todd Cantwell situation.
That's a fascinating one. Let's get into that quickly. Of course, Todd Cantwell kind of started the first few games of the season, hasn't particularly set the world alike in them. And then I think towards the end of September, he was left out for personal reasons. So, of course, obviously, we all hope everything is going okay there in terms of Todd's personal reasons and whatnot. But then it's been about a month later, and he was still out for personal reasons. And then we got a quote from Daniel Farke in the press conference saying now, Todd Cantwell, of course, Todd Cantwell still hasn't attended a training session, and now, look, he's okay now. He's playing under 23 football, and one of the reasons Daniel Farke said why Todd's not training is because there needs to be a process before he is ready for the Premier League battles. Now, either that could suggest that, obviously the personal reasons, and we're not going to speculate about the personal reasons, but it either could be that maybe he's not mentally, still with the personal reasons, and perhaps he needs to get to full match fitness while playing the under 23 football. But I hate to think, I think it's probably the latter, and that is that Todd's just not being involved whatsoever because he's not. Yeah. He's seemingly
he's not happy how it's going, and I think I wouldn't be at all. Farke's lost the plot. He's trying to play the same sort of football we did in the Championship, in the Premier League, against teams that are miles better than us, that are going to press us and absolutely destroy us. You look what happened first game of the season against Liverpool. We were good in spells, in about 10-minute spells. Yeah, you look at Man City, Dick absolutely torn apart, and multiple games a season.
Yeah, we didn't talk about them, Ducker, but would you argue, obviously, the Burnley 0-0 draw and the Brighton 0-0 draw, what was your assessment of those two games, kind of in a summary? Did that not give you positivity going forward that Norwich were starting to improve, of course, defensively a lot better?
Kind of. I think after Brighton, the Brighton performance I was thoroughly pleased with, in the terms that, we defensively we looked very solid. We had a lot of chances, and if we would have scored those chances, we'd be screaming about how good we were.
Do you not see that going forward then? Those performances against Brighton.
We played a very poor Brighton team. I know Brighton are very high up in the league at the minute, but I thought that that Brighton team were very poor, personally. And it just shows you can be poor in the Premier League and still be in the top 6. So surely we can up our game a little bit. And
it's also tight as well. It's also tight as well, isn't it, mate? Where if Brighton lose their next game, they're probably gone down from 5th to about 10th. So
exactly.
And look, Brighton are going to finish. They've started well, but they've had a really easy start. Brighton are probably going to finish 11th, 12th around that spot. And look, at the end of the day, your home games against mid-table teams, you've got to be winning them, as simple as that. And I think that Norwich City, to be honest, you say it was a good performance, and I was coming out of the game, and you know me, I'm probably a positive Norwich City fan, probably slightly more positive maybe than the average, but I was actually coming out of the game thinking, all our chances actually came from Brighton mistakes. We didn't actually work a real opening, kind of that down the wings. They all came from mistakes. You look at the Josh Sargent horrendous miss, and there was one early in the second half as well. And Brighton also have one of their own sitters they missed towards the end as well. Yeah. So, that was my assessment. Hi, Sean. I hope you're doing well. But yeah, we've got to look forward, mate. And Max puts in the key question: what formation should we be playing against Leeds going forward? How does Daniel Farke save this? Because he is going to be the manager against Leeds, and if you look at those next 5 games, Leeds at home, Brentford away. Look, how are Brentford 10 points ahead of us after we finished 15 points ahead of them in the season? Southampton at home, Wolves at home, and Newcastle away. That is massive. It's huge. And look, okay, Norwich City have played quite a lot of hard teams so far in the season, but they've also played teams in and around them, and you know, they haven't won a game. So next 5 games are massive. How should we approach them, mate?
Well, first of all, from those 5 games, if he gets anything less than 10 points, he needs to go.
Right. I just want to see a win first, mate.
Yeah, no, I know. But the fact is, out of those 5 games, he needs to get 10 points, regardless. Because the fact is, we're in that position now where we need to, we need to start pummeling him points and try and putting ourselves in a position where we could survive.
But Leeds and Brentford, yeah, you've got to see wins and you've got to see good performances as well.
Exactly. 4-2-3-1, absolutely. You know, we need to go back to what we know and what we know best, and that's playing a 4-2-3-1. And the team that we should play is Krul in goal, Hanley and Omabamidele, Aarons and Giannoulis, Norman and Gilmore, Campbell in the 10, Zolis and Rashica out wide, and Adam Eder up top, if I'm honest.
Oh, not Adam Eder, mate. No.
No, I'm being serious. I think Timmy Poo.
Did you see his performance against Liverpool, mate?
I don't think it was that bad.
Really?
He was very isolated.
Okay.
I think against Leeds, he could have a bit of a field day. So
Yeah,
a bit strong, a bit more physical, difficult to handle. Maybe even Josh Sargent, give him a run out and see if he can install a bit of confidence back. Because, you know, he's a striker that likes to get on the end of crosses. I'm going to play quick wingers. You want to get strikers who like to get on the end of crosses.
Yeah.
And Adam Eden and Josh Sargent are those 2 players.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. But yeah, for me, that 4-2-3-1 has to come back. And you look at this, look at the kind of formations as a whole, mate. The first 5 games of the season, we played the 4-3-3, which is a new formation. And overall, we created. Going forward, we wasn't amazing. We created a couple of opportunities in these games. Leicester was probably the one we created the most opportunities. And defensively, we were really poor in that formation, particularly at transition. Going from when we were going forward, we lost the ball. The main issue was the 3 central midfielders completely out of position. And those transitions cost us points and cost us goals. We moved to the back 5 for the next 5 games. Obviously, Liverpool in the Cup, Everton, Burnley, Brighton and Chelsea, and that back 5 has made us more solid, barring Chelsea, of course, made us more solid. But as a result, we haven't scored a goal in any of those 5 games. And the whole point, Daniel Farke is not Chris Hughton. We want someone who's going to stick to their philosophy. And okay, we need to make sure we're defensively solid, but to not score any goals in those games is not good enough, and not really be in any of those games as well. So that's a big issue. So yeah, these formations just overall have not worked and haven't given us the greatest balance. Yeah. And for me, the 4-2-3-1, going back to what Farke knows, does that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's the only way we're going to get a result against Leeds if we go back to what we know and start playing some good football. I wouldn't even mind Kieran Dowd come into the team, or Jakob Sorensen. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind bringing in some of the players who've been absolutely chucked out the first team and not really been given a sniff in. And
it's really interesting. It's really interesting on that. How, as you say, someone like Dimitri Giannoulis, who of course is £7 million left back, someone who is, good left back. Okay, he's made mistakes, but he's a good left back. Makes a couple of mistakes and instantly he's brought off on 45th minute and ridiculed. Christos Zolis, a new guy coming to a new country. Okay, maybe you shouldn't took the penalty away from Adam Eder, but he hasn't played a minute since. And then someone like Kenny McLean, brilliant in the Championship, and don't get me wrong, he has the occasional good performance in the Premier League. But look at the Everton game, for instance, 2 horrific mistakes. And keeps his place, and that for me doesn't sit well. And as you say, the dressing room is a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, 100%, and that's why I think we do need a new manager, someone to because the fact is, I think, don't get me wrong, players shouldn't be scared of making mistakes. That's the way you learn, but it happens all too often now, and it's the same mistakes. And I think we've got to have a manager who's or a head coach that's going to kind of drill into these players to not make these same mistakes again. And if you do make these same mistakes, you will be heavily punished. Because I don't think it's getting into the players' head, because Giannoulis down that left-hand side, you look at Man City, you look at Chelsea, same mistakes. Yes, he's been taken off, but is that much of a punishment? Realistically, is Farke punishing him in the right way? And with Brandon Williams, again just being dropped, he's still earning his wages. I mean, it's not. I just feel like these players are just able to kind of walk over Farke at the minute. If I'm perfectly honest, I don't see like I don't feel like Farke's drilling into him like stop making these mistakes. They're costing us big time.
Yeah, definitely. Hi Willamots, hope you're doing well, my friend. It's good to see you in the live chat. Hope you're doing well. Sean, hope you're doing well. Are Norwich missing Oliver Skip? I think the answer to that is definitely. Would Norwich City be outside the relegation spots if we had Oliver Skip? Would Norwich City be outside the relegation spots if we had Emi Buendia? For me, the answer to both those questions is no. I just do not think so whatsoever, particularly with that 5-3-2.
If we had the pair together, I don't think we would have changed formation.
Okay, yeah.
Because we'd have had the two players that we'd have ideally built the team around this season there.
But then should Farke not be trusting Norman to... Norman's been our best player this season, but should Farke not be trusting Norman to fill in the shoes of Oliver Skip? And should he not be trusting Christoph Wallace-Rashidi to fill in Buendia's spot?
Yeah, he should be, but he isn't. And that's simple. Yeah, as simple as that.
Yeah, good question that. Thanks, Sean. Adam... who would you like to see come in as head coach? Let's assume it would actually happen. For me, firstly, they've got to be willing to come in. Chris Wilder, Frank Lampard.
I'll say Chris Wilder. I think Chris Wilder. He's the sort of character we need, and he does he can play some sort of weird attacking football.
Yeah.
Somehow, and he does play. He does have a good brand of football, and it has worked with Sheffield United. Yes, he. Got them relegated, but Sheffield United are always going to get relegated at some point. They're Sheffield United, for Christ's sake. But what he done with them in the first season just was fantastic, and maybe obviously won't do the same thing with Norwich, but someone to try. He's a character, and he'll install a bit of fear into the players to make sure they'll do well. And they'll bring us a bit of success. So,
and they played good football, as you say. They played some really good football in that Premier League. I don't really know the inner workings and what went badly in that second Premier League season for them, but in terms of the job he's done, all the qualities I think a good manager needs.
I think the other options are like you say, Frank Lampard, Eddie Howe, but I think Eddie Howe's too big for the Norwich job, if I'm perfectly honest. But again, it's a guy that I wouldn't mind seeing at Norwich. This was before Watford snapped him up. So I think it's after we lost to Watford. I got asked, Duka, who's your ideal replacement? Claudio Ranieri, I said. And obviously he's now gone to Watford and it's just beaten Everton 5-2. So there goes another opportunity.
Duka on the board, that's all I'm going to say,
Yeah.
Yeah. And we keep going back to the Farke discussion, but it is, I think emotion clouds our judgment as well and it clouds the board's judgment because he's done a terrific job. He is my favorite manager. To get 94 and 97 points that first season, we were predicted to finish mid-table, and he did an absolutely stellar job playing some of the most exciting football and producing some of those most exciting Norwich City games. You think of the Nottingham Forest game, Millwall game. You can go through a whole host of them.
Exactly.
And then that second championship season, 97 points, just finishing shy of 100. One of the best championship teams. Emi Buendia, one of the best ever championship seasons. Although that team was expected to get promotion, to get 97 points and to actually do it is sensational. But in the Premier League, I can't even begin to say how just far we are off it. We are so far off it. And we was expecting to be far more competitive this time around. This is the 5-year plan. This is kind of the culmination of everything. And we look far worse than what we did 2 years ago. And I like to split 2 years ago into 4 stages. We had a good start, kind of the second part of this 4-stage, kind of in October to December, lots of injuries, and we lost 7 or 8 games. It was really poor. And then from December to February, we actually played some good performances. The results didn't always follow. No team had lost more points from winning positions ever in a season. And that's not a stat you want, but we were competitive in games.
We were very competitive. Spurs, Arsenal, and
and we were very Yeah, when we're very clearly slowly starting to claw points. And then, of course, the fourth stage was really poor. But for me, half of our games were really competitive and we're playing some good football. Okay, I know we finished bottom and we were far off it, but there were positive performances to take.
100%.
This year round, it's just he's lost everything what's made him great.
Yeah, like you said, that back end of the season kind of killed us off last time. And prior to that, we had a good stage, like you say, December to February. We did only pick up 2 wins, but there's a whole lot of draws in there as well, which we did lose from winning positions, and a few wins that we lost from winning positions as well.
But they were good performances, mate. They were performances. Don't look at that now.
Like, I think the only game in that specific stage was that 4-0 loss against Man United. Apart from that, I think we were very competitive the majority of those games in that area. Yeah. And obviously, prior to that, we did have that whole host of injuries. It was absolutely horrific. But prior to that one, we beat Newcastle, we beat Man City. We had a good start to the season. We looked good. And this time around,
playing his style of football, doing it.
I don't see where we're picking up points. I don't see it.
Yeah. To be devil's advocate, would you not feel confidence going from those Burnley and Brighton performances? I know you need to get 9 wins, but can you see any wins? Would you have seen any wins materializing from them? It's a bit of a silly question, to be honest. I think we know the answer, but
no.
Yeah,
I think the Brighton game still haunts me because that Josh Sargent miss. I think coulda, shoulda, what if? That's all it is at the minute with Norwich. And that shouldn't be how it is. But yeah, it's one of those. But we go on to the next one, and we'll probably, we'll go in a bit hopeful because it's Leeds, and Leeds are having a poor season. We'll be like, oh yeah, we could nick something here. We'll lose 3-0.
Yeah,
one of those.
You get into a really big argument as well, don't you? Because you say you're playing Leeds, who are in 17th. You've got Southampton, who are 16th. Brentford, okay, they've started well, but that's a game
still Brentford
marketing points from. And they have started their recent games. They've actually been quite poor in. Who else? Wolves, okay, they're doing all right, but it's a home game, and Newcastle as well. So they are big games, and you have the argument.
5 winnable games, Lewis. They're 5 win. I mean, I know we can't really. We are in no position to talk about winnable games in the sense that we've lost literally every single game, bar the 2 draws. But the fact is, they are winnable games. They are. But, these teams are in and around where we're going to finish. But if we win our next 5 games, it's not going to happen. 15 points plus 2, 17 points. We're nearly halfway there to survival. It can change like that. It can. But the fact is, something does need to change. If it's a formation, if it's a tactic, if it's this or that or the other, if it's the manager, so be it. And I think it is.
Sometimes all it takes is 1 win, doesn't it? But the argument is just morale is so low.
Is it going to come? Is that win going to come? We don't know.
Another thing that slightly annoys me about Farke is the mentality thing as well. A lot of comments saying how, there was one thing that really, really angered me more so than any kind of comment in recent years, and that was after I think the Everton game where he said, he said something along the lines, and I'm going to paraphrase: 6 games in at this stage of the season, we expected 3 points. We've had a difficult start to the season, but how can you say you can only expect 3 points? Look at Watford went to Everton and scored 5 past them. I think that mentality to me stinks, and it installs. You have that mentality in the Championship. He's been ruthless, but you can't go into a Premier League season with that mentality and thinking, okay, we'll write off this game, and we'll try and win against this home team. That doesn't sit well with me, mate.
Oh, absolutely, mate. I think there's another thing that Ivan Toney said in press conference. Oh, where do you think Brentford will finish? Well, and he said in his press conference, we're going to try and win the league. Absolutely, that should be your mentality. Daniel Farke is saying, oh, yeah, first 6 games. Oh, yeah, we only expected 3 points. Sorry. I mean? Like, there's a difference in mentality just kind of defers how your team's going to do. Daniel Farke's so much of a realist, he becomes a pessimist.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Substitutions as well in the Premier League.
Yeah,
I can't think of an effective substitution made in the Premier League, and this is what also irritates me as well. Norwich have always been known as a yo-yo club, but it's never been more evident under this Daniel Farke side. In the Championship, utterly ruthless. We finished 15 points in front of Leeds and Brentford and all that lot, and Sheffield United, and in the Premier League, just their class, head and shoulders, everything about them is so much better than us, and for me, that comes down to Farke and the tactics, and just the mentality going into a Premier League season.
That is it, mate. That nail on the head. But yeah, no, I just hope something changes for Sunday, and I do hope we can. I'd love to see Carrow Road rocking. I'd love to see us win. I think again, the fans will be then buzzing. There's something that Farke can work on there and be like, all right, hang on, we've got to win here. Fans, they won't be back on side with Daniel Farke, but they'll be back on side with the team. We've won a game. That's what I need. Everyone needs to be on the same position then. And then we've got Brentford away. Sneak the 3 points there and then carry on. Just get that momentum going. Because once that momentum is going, you found a bit of form, you can then lose the odd one game, or lose 2 on the bounce and, at least still put in a good performance. And you could be like, look, it's all right. We've got some wins on the board now. We'll get some more later. And then, that's what it is now at the minute. We just need to get a few wins on the board and things can start looking brighter. But can I see it happening? No. Does the manager need to change? Yes. Daniel Farke needs to go.
Yeah. That's pretty compelling. And if you look at it, mate, how do you kind of feel about Daniel Farke? As you said, the Chelsea game, obviously we were going into the game expecting to get no points, but we was expecting to see a performance. And Farke is coming out saying we expected to lose the game. When you lose 7-0, that does something to your team. That does something to the dressing room. Yeah. Okay, Brentford picked up a point against Liverpool at home. We didn't. And Brentford lost to Chelsea. But that performance was so impressive, and that does something to a team. This performance against Chelsea was unacceptable in every single capacity. And for me, going forward, I mean, either two things if Norwich City want to get points. A, we thank Daniel Farke for the memories and we go. Or B, complete radical change of system, goes back to a 4-2-3-1 and gives it a go. Because it's playing like this, from what we've seen, last 18 Premier League games, 2 points, 3 goals scored, 47 conceded. This Premier League season, 9 games in, 2 points, conceded 23 already.
Yeah.
If you extrapolate the numbers, Norwich City are going to go down with the worst ever points tally in history, and something has got to change.
And only scoring 8 goals as well.
Yeah. I think I shouldn't advocate betting, but I think there was a bet on Sky Bet Norwich City to score less than 20 goals this season at 33-1. And
I know. I'm on Sky Bet tonight doing that. I'm sorting that out right now. If we do lose on Sunday, I will be going with that, but that'll be down about 2-1 after that. So yeah.
Ducker, any final comments before we wrap this up, mate?
Just hope we win on Sunday, Lewis. I really do hope so. For Daniel Farke's sake, for Norwich City's sake, and for my sake.
And what do you want to see in that performance, mate? You spoke about the 4-2-3-1. What needs to change in terms of how the players apply themselves within the performance and what Daniel Farke does?
I just want to see us score goals and play well. Play sexy football and score goals. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, it's not too much to ask, is it? I think the last goal we scored was against Watford in that terrible 3-1 loss.
Yeah,
it's just depressing, mate, isn't it? It is just depressing.
Well, we move on to the next.
Definitely. But the Greek kid, get him in and just go for it, Just go for it. Ducker, it's been an absolute pleasure as always, mate. Where can people find you, mate?
I believe my YouTube channel is in the description. I'm thinking about getting that back started a minute. Just massively busy with uni at the minute. Haven't really been able to spend a lot of time on it, but I believe my link for that is in the description. Also, go follow my socials. Twitter is @DobmaDucker, so it's my last name to my first name. And then my Instagram is Ducker Dobma, and then a 2 after that. So you can give me a follow on there.
Yes, definitely do that. Guys, thank you so much for all the comments in this live stream. It's been a good one. I think we've needed a detox, guys. I think we needed to breathe and really consider what's best for Norwich, because, as you say, this is a massive season for Norwich and for the soul of the club. And before we go, I've just seen an amazing comment here by John.
Yeah, before we go, let's have a read of that. That's fantastic.
I've just seen the first few words and I've instantly wanted to read of that. If your missus bought £1,000 washing machine, yet did all the washing by hand, you'd have something to say about it, wouldn't you? 2 record signings who don't play. I'm loving that message.
That's an incredible comment. That's fantastic. No, fully agree with that. Fully agree.
Exactly. Thank you, Adam, for all your support in the live stream. Cheers, lads. Let's hope for a good result Sunday. See you at the Carrow OTBC. On the Ball City, thank you for all watching this live stream. Do follow Norwich City Central for more. And yeah, we're going to have the NCC show coming back again. So please do feel free to keep in touch, follow them all, turn on the notification bell if you don't want to miss them. And yeah, thank you for watching, guys, and we'll see you later.